Glad ForceFlex Max Strength now has bags with a 2 times stronger top for over-the-top strength. Like the kind of over-the-top strength you need when Bill breaks your bowl of buffalo chicken dip. Glad ForceFlex Max Strength. Strong enough for all of life's garbage. 2 times stronger top versus 13-gallon ForceFlex bags.
O'Reilly!
Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free and provides a report with solutions based on over 650 million vehicle scans verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we can recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
FunBelt Podcast.
FunBelt Podcast.
FunBelt Podcast.
FunBelt Podcast.
It's just a great conference that is at a point right now where they're, I think, clearly the best group of 5 conference in the country.
The state of SunBelt football is the strongest in our history.
And we got to continue to showcase what our league is about.
2020 was the crazy year of COVID, but it was also the year of the Chanticleer. Joining us tonight to talk about the Coastal Carolina team, the co-champions from last year. He joins myself, Dusty Thibodeau, Jeremy Harper from
HowRazor.com. Oh my God.
It's a day. It's a day.
I get it. I understand.
Just
move on. Just move on.
Yeah. So sorry. We're 9 episodes in, and we still have to wear name tags around here. Join us, though, the voice of the Chanticleers. Hey, that's twice in a row. I've gotten it right. Joe Cashiion.
How you doing? Cashion. How you doing?
Cashion. See, I knew I was going to mispronounce something or another. I mean, with the last name Thibodeau, I'm used to it. So apologies, but welcome to the
No
club.
worries. No worries. I've been called Cushion and all kind of crazy things. So you're pretty close. We're good.
That's two strikes on Thibodeau tonight. You only got 1 strike, Dusty.
Batting 100 sometimes will keep you in the pros, depending on what that contract looks like. But anyway, we're here to talk football. So last year, Coastal Carolina definitely had the ideal season. And, 11-1, yeah, the bowl game didn't go the way they wanted it to. They didn't get the chance to play the Cajuns in a true conference championship and have that outright championship. You were there for all the games. What was your view like for that? And at what point did you say, God, this is going to be a special year for us?
First of all, thanks for having me on. It's always great to talk some Chanticleer football as we are, 1 week out from the 2021 season. It was special, the whole season. It was just a special team, special group, special time to just be able to take it all in and watch from the Kansas game, even all the way through the end against Liberty. That didn't, like you said, that didn't go our way, but that didn't tarnish, what this team accomplished. Just an incredible group of young men and coaches who really came together under some extremely difficult circumstances. Of course, everybody in college football played under those circumstances, but, to do what this team did last season to go 11-1 and, win that conference championship, win a share of it, with Louisiana. And unfortunately, I wish we would have played that game. Wish we would have played that game, but we didn't. It didn't work out. But you asked when did I realize, or when I thought maybe we had something special. We won. We won the first 2 convincingly. We beat Kansas and Campbell, and then we beat Arkansas State in a way that we hadn't done that. We lost all 3. Coming in, we lost all 3 to them. 2 blowouts. And then the Jonesboro game in 2019 was one that they did everything they could to give to us, and we just didn't take it at the end. But then to beat them the way that we did, I kind of thought, wow, that was we looked pretty good out there. And then to go beat Louisiana, in that nationally televised game on a Wednesday night, our first, ranked win over an FBS team. That's when I knew. And on the flight back to South Carolina, that was a good, really good Louisiana team that we went and just went toe to toe with and beat. And that's when I knew that I thought we really had something special going.
Joe, we don't have to rehash what happened at Arkansas State. In fact, I think we might just cut that out of the entire audio. I hope you don't mind, because we honestly don't like, at least I can't speak for Dusty, but I don't like reliving that. But I did want to ask you one thing. You were talking about how Arkansas State had won 3 times in a row. And as an Arkansas State guy, I've been watching Coastal Carolina all those years. And every year they looked like a team that was a little bit smaller, used a lot of like razzle dazzle on offense to try to do a little misdirection. If you had like 5 quarterbacks on the field at once, that would not have surprised me, because there's always something goofy going on with the Chanticleer offense. And then last year, suddenly the defensive line looked huge. The offensive line looked huge. You had a quarterback in Grayson McCall that was just all cool. It was just making plays left and right. And you just seemed like a different team. How did that happen?
I would say
it's sorcery, isn't it? It was witchcraft.
Nah, well, I mean, no, I mean that you don't go 11-1 and beat the teams that we beat the way we won by, smoke and mirrors. I mean, we have talent. We've got good talent. Well, got great talent, in my opinion. We've got guys that can play. We've got coaches that can coach. And I think, first of all, Jamie's, Coach Chadwell's culture really, took hold. It took root in that locker room and in that program. And those kids, every last one of them bought into it, and they played with a hunger. And coaches talk about this. I've heard him talk about it. And they played with a hunger last year that I think will be important this season. But last season, they played with a hunger that was just, it was just voracious. It was insatiable. That team wanted to prove that the first 3 seasons of FBS football are not indicative of what Coastal Carolina football has been through the years. And we don't have a long history. We only started in 2003, but we played 14 seasons at the FCS level, and we were really good. We had a bunch of good teams. There was tradition there. There's a tradition of winning and good teams and good players and good coaches. Starting with David Bennett, who started the program, and Joe Moglia, and then now to Jamie Chadwell. And those kids, a lot of them experienced seniors last year, said, we're not going out this way. We're not going out 3-9 or 5-7 or anything like that. We're going to go out there and we're going to take what we want. And that's what they did. Those kids went out there and just took it. And you mentioned Grayson McCall. I mean, he comes in and he's a difference maker. He gave us stability and outstanding play. The player of the year in the conference, he gave us that level of play that you have to have out of that position to have a chance to be really good. And then our defense was out of sight. And it's just a lot of things that just kind of came together, and we're just really good.
You mentioned Joe Moglia, who was like not only just a good football coach, but just a character, right? He's a captain of industry. I think he wrote a novel about business. I kept waiting for a great stock tip from him. He never really gave it to me. If you have any pull with Moglia, please let him know that I'm looking for a tip. But then in comes Chadwell, and he seems more of the quiet guy. He seems more of the buttoned up sort of just X's and O's guys. Do I have that wrong? Is he as charismatic, or am I missing it somehow? Or is he more of a sort of a classic head coach?
Jamie is special, I mean, and Coach Moglia was too. I mean, Coach Moglia brought a different approach. I mean, David Bennett was our first coach, and you want to talk about charismatic and out there, and he could hold court, for an hour or two if he wanted to. He was that kind of guy. And then Coach Moglia came in, and he was kind of more of the on the field, button down, kind of the CEO type. I mean, he got a great staff around him. He was a great motivator. And then Jamie, comes in. Jamie's high energy guy. I mean, I love what he brings. He's high energy. He instilled that hunger, that culture. He will get after it. It may not seem like it at times if they show him on TV, but he will get after it. He can get some people fired up and get some people motivated. I love that. Among many, many things I love about Coach, that's one of them I love.
Kind of closing out last season, that Brigham Young game, I forget who was on the schedule for Coastal that week. How did that game kind of come about? And then do you feel that was like, I hate to say the peak of the season, because I mean, it was a huge game. The fact that it was scheduled maybe that Wednesday, Thursday of that week, but was that what really put Coastal on the map last year?
I don't think there's any doubt about it. I mean, we were originally scheduled to play Liberty, which used to be, our big rival in the Big South Conference. I mean, we had some titanic battles with Liberty through the years at their place and at ours. Great football games. We would always, the Big South Conference championship typically came down to us or them. And then Charleston Southern kind of worked their way in there, towards the end. But I mean, they were scheduled to come to us, and they were nationally ranked. And that game wasn't originally on the schedule when the season started, when the schedules kind of got, screwed up and everybody decided to go in conference and all that kind of stuff. We got them for that game. And then as it led down to it, they were 9-1, we were 9-0. And the next thing you know, we find out that game day's coming. So it's like, holy mackerel, how great is this? This is just awesome. And so the first couple of days of that week, I'm putting radio charts together and doing a few radio hits with some people in Lynchburg. And at the Wednesday morning of that week, I actually had spoken, had done a radio interview with a couple of my great radio friends there at Liberty, Alan York and Nick Pierce. And we went down old times. We talked about some old games, and it was really neat. And then about an hour or two later, after we wrapped up, all of a sudden on Twitter, I start seeing, unconfirmed reports that their quarterback, Malik Willis, had tested positive for COVID. And when I saw that, I thought, first of all, I hope he's going to be okay. I hope nothing is going to be bad with him or the team. And the next thought was, we're not playing, because you could see that script was written all year. We're not playing. And I thought, oh my gosh, we're not only are we not playing this game, but game day probably isn't going to stick around. And man, what a great opportunity is fixing to go by the boards. And then as the day developed, I started, from people at the school, hey, wait, maybe all might not be lost, and then the next thing, I get a message saying, watch out Thursday morning because something big is about to drop and it's probably going to be BYU. And I thought, oh, wow, they're coming game days, that just took it from here to here, in terms of the prestige of that kind of game, because they were, ranked 8th in the country. Then the game happened. They diverted their equipment truck. They just sent it east. They said, go east. We'll tell you where to go. Just go east. We'll tell you which, you're going north or south, wherever. They wind up, of course, coming to Conway, and they fly across the country. And then we get in that game. And it's just, it was just a fabulous football game. One of the 2 or 3 best, in my opinion, all year. Went right down to the wire. And we stopped Dax Mill, and they're at the 1.5. And, after that, then we had to pick up and go play a game against Troy, which I still don't understand why we had to play. But, that'd be a question for last night's guest. But anyway, that BYU game probably was the highlight of the year. No.
Hey, Joe, Dusty and I both saw that game, and we agree it was a wonderful game. And it was great for the SunBelt to see that game come through. It could have been one of those games where both teams played poorly or one team played well while the other team played poorly. But it really was a good haymaker game, just 2 guys slugging it out. We were talking about how it was just really cool to have 2 teams play each other without much time for a game plan or anything. It was just classic. Let's settle this on the gridiron, and you guys pulled it out. Congratulations.
Well, I appreciate that. All the credit goes to those kids and those coaches who were able to pull that thing together in less than 48 hours. But Jeremy, you don't have to have 2 or 3 years in advance to figure out who you're going to play. You really don't, to have a good football game. Now, did it hurt BYU to have to come across a couple of time zones to face us that runs the kind of offense that we do and does what we do? Maybe, but they agreed to come. They said, we're going to go play.
Hey,
play.
Joe,
you don't need all that time to do that. I'm seeing in South Carolina right now, high schools that are doing the very same thing. They're doing the, COVID protocols are wiping out games and like, hey, you want to go play? Yeah, let's go play Friday night. Let's go do this. It can be done. If there's a will, there's a way it can be done. And when it was done, that was a heck of a football game.
Yeah, and who knows? With the Delta variant, we might be doing that again. One question that I did have about the team, and I'd like to hear your opinion on it. I was at SunBelt Media Day, or at least virtually I was at SunBelt Media Day, and I did listen to Jamie talk about the team, and you had a couple guys up there too that were talking a little bit how you were saying how they had something to prove and that they actually have something to prove this year too. Is there a chance that this team peaked a little too quickly, too high, and that there might be a letdown this year?
I think that's a great question. My immediate answer would be, probably not. I mean, I hope not. You never know until you get into the situation. You never know until we tee this thing up next week. The interesting thing about it is we have all these super seniors back. All of these guys who were, senior leaders last year who really spearheaded that effort, they're all back. So, I mean, that's kind of one of the things that I wonder about. Again, hunger. Is the hunger still there? Is the edge still there? I mean, do we carry that over? Do these guys carry that over? Is that same attitude in the locker room, this year when we go play, lead things off with the Citadel next week and then Kansas after that? Is that same hunger there? I mean, everything that I've been able to gather, the scrimmage I saw, a week or so ago, and then just, kind of being around the kids as much as I can be, which really obviously still is not much, but and talking to Jamie, I think it's still there. And I think we will see, the same kind of effort from our kids. Now, whether or not there aren't many ways to go from 11-1. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean, 12-0 obviously is improvement. Now that would be improvement. But if we go 9-3 and 8-4, I mean, what are people going to think about that? What's going to be the impression of that? So,
Okay, you said something that was interesting, and it brings me back to a question I wanted to ask too, because I brought it up in a column that I wrote. Is that the chants were
shots?
The Shants.
There you go.
Coastal Carolina.
There you go.
Were ranked in the AP and the coaches preseason polls this year, which is great for the Sun Belt, great for Coastal Carolina. Congratulations. Thank you very much for doing that. Here's the thing, though. Even though it's what you're saying, which the paper the roster bears it out, you got pretty much the exact same team coming back. Same guys, same superstars, maybe even a little easier schedule. And yet, ranked, 22 or 23 when he finished the year? Was it 12? Is that a slight? Should we be actually a little aggravated by this? Louisiana, too. Both took hits, even though both teams are essentially the same teams. Should we be rubbing our chins and going, what the heck?
Only if that kind of thing is surprising about Group of Five clubs, honestly. I mean, that's the level of respect that the Group of Five gets. I mean, we got to the end of last year, Coastal was right there. We were right there in the college football playoff rankings. And who was ahead of us? Iowa State. Now scratch your head and figure that one out. Now, why in the world is Iowa State ahead of us in the college football playoff ranking last year? I mean, Louisiana went up there and stomped their rear ends, and then we went and beat Louisiana. So if you take it like that, on-field results have to matter, right? Doesn't that matter to anybody? Apparently it doesn't. I mean, we're still ranked behind Iowa State, and for reasons that I didn't understand. But no, should we be ranked higher after what we did last season? I absolutely, I think so, and so should Louisiana. And if Louisiana beats Texas, that isn't going to surprise me. Now, all the talking heads that love Power 5 football, their heads will explode over something like that. But it wouldn't shock me at all to watch that happen. It really wouldn't. But no, I mean, I'm happy that our team is in the top 25. I'm happy that Louisiana's right there. As you say, it's great for the Sun Belt. If we were comparing, apples to apples, what happened last season, we both ought to be higher. Let's be honest.
I think everyone under the sun knows Grayson McCall, and then Grayson McCall. But he's one guy. He's the quarterback. He can't be on the receiving end of the passes. Who are the other names that we need to really look out for this upcoming year for Coastal Carolina, the mascot we cannot say?
Well, you nailed it, Dusty. I mean, you got it, No, it's not all just Grayson McCall. I mean, first of all, he's behind an outstanding offensive line. I mean, you talk about Antoine Loper and Willie Lampkin, and then three super seniors, and Sammy Thompson, the best of the lot up there is Trey Carter, and then Stephen Vodosky. Isaiah Likely is an All-America tight end. I personally, I think he's the best in the country. And we beat Louisiana, and he didn't even make the trip. That's how, he is a big time player, and he will play his way into the draft with a big season this year. We also have Javon Hiley, who caught 24 passes in the last two games of the season last year. He had almost a season in two games. So he's back. Cam Brown's out there as a wideout too. Reese White, Shamari Jones running the football. I mean, we have a lot of offensive weapons to help Grayson out. Now, we will miss C.J. Marable, who went to the Chicago Bears. I mean, he was kind of our Swiss Army knife kind of guy. There was, plays on the play sheet that said, hey, how do we get the ball to C.J.? What do we need to do to get the ball in his hands? We will miss him, but there are plenty of weapons that we've got, that Grayson has at his disposal, and we should be just as good.
And C.J. Marable seemed like one of those guys that was there since the 1980s. It seemed like every year, C.J. Marable. Oh my God! That was great. I'm actually relieved as a Red Wolves fan to see C.J. Marable go off to Chicago. Best of luck to C.J. I hope things work out well for him, and that he never finds any more eligibility with Coastal Carolina.
Well, he was, originally he was an Arkansas State commit back in the day.
I know.
Yeah, way back in the day.
Hey, we don't have to talk about that. We should talk a little bit more about the actually what we should talk about a little bit, Dusty, is sort of the reaction of Cajuns fans after the cancellation of the SunBelt game.
Oh my goodness.
And suddenly, you know what, like we were talking about how the first few years in the conference, Coastal was trying to find its identity and trying to get its footing. And it didn't really seem to have a big hated rival in the conference. It was just, just a team that was still trying to find something. Suddenly you seem to have all kinds of rivals, including the Cajuns. How bitter are the Cajuns in your estimation, without trying to make any more enemies? Try to be as diplomatic as you can. How deep is that rivalry right now?
Oh, I imagine it's pretty hot right this second. I mean, and certainly in the aftermath of what happened with the game being called off, I saw a lot of that reaction. Personally, that doesn't really bother me. I think honestly, like you, I think it's great for a rivalry. Now, I hate that the game couldn't be played. Our coaches hate that the game couldn't be played, but it was what it was. I mean, it was a COVID year. I mean, that kind of thing happened. I mean, it wasn't just that game that got called off. I mean, that was across college football. You hated to see it in a situation like that, but it happened. And then the eruption of the fans. I saw everybody jumping into the fray on that thing. I just sat back and kind of laughed. I thought, oh my goodness, I'm gonna stay out of this and just let them have their day. And eventually it'll blow over. But the formation of rivalries and getting something going is exactly right. You make a great point, because we've been in the league, several years, and we really haven't had that kind of that edge, that game where, you just look at it, you're like, I can't wait to play that team. I can't wait to go there and play that team in front of their fans and their people. And let's see what happens. We had that with Liberty back in the day. I mentioned them a little while ago. We had that. And I love that. I mean, that's, some places you go and there's 2,000 or 3,000 people there and no one cares. It's like, I want to go somewhere where either we hate them or they hate us or vice versa, and the app people even got involved in that thing too last year. They couldn't take it either because we beat them too. And it's like, they couldn't stand it. They wanted to get in on the act. I thought the whole thing was great. I still do. Can't wait to play them.
I'm sure you're like, what's your problem, Mountaineers? You're not even part of this conversation.
I know. They decided to get involved in the whole thing. Now, I think we've got some guys that'll stir the pot on that thing a little bit, but I too kind of think that, we want to get something going. And that's what makes it fun. That's what makes, college football and rivalries and athletics. That's what makes it fun,
How great is it that it's congrats, you made it. We hate you.
You've arrived when people start to care. They may like you, they may hate you, but at least they care enough, to blow their lid and everything starts going. They care.
So without a doubt, I think the favorites this year, Louisiana Lafayette, Coastal Carolina in the East. Who do you see being kind of the sleeper team that's either on y'all's schedule or just looking at the league as a whole?
I think either of the two Georgia teams, Georgia Southern, Georgia State. I mean, I think those two teams could figure into this thing. They both have talent. Troy's always got talent. They've got quarterbacks and wideouts. They've always had those kind of guys since we've come into the league. I think if they can kind of get things going, they could be a sleeper. Now in the West, we play everybody but Louisiana. Unfortunately, I hate that game had to rotate off. So and all the new coaches in the West, I really have no idea over there. I mean, does Butch Jones get something going in in Jonestown rather? That Jonesboro rather that fast? Does he get things, turned back around there? What happens at South Alabama? What happens at ULM? I mean, Texas State took an unusual, they did some unusual things to try to get their program back going in the right direction. We see them as well. So, I mean, the West, past Louisiana, I think it's wide open. Who knows what can happen there? But, as far as our side of the division, I think Georgia Southern, Georgia State, either one of those two could, they could do something and certainly don't count App out. I mean, they still have talent and speed, maybe like no other in this league. I mean, they're so fast, that football team, and we have to go there. So
as a ULM alum, I am more than happy to trade Coastal Carolina for a bye week, and you can have Louisiana Lafayette off of our schedule.
I'm interested to see what Terry Bowden and Rich Rod and that crowd's going to do. I think those are fascinating hires. What are they going to do? That fascinates me.
Yeah, we've had a lot of that kind of off-air discussion internally with our FunBelt podcast crew there, and they always look at me going, "What's ULM going to do?" And my answer is always, "I don't know." They haven't released a roster. They haven't released a 2 deep. They haven't really had any kind of open practices beyond saying Rhett Rod is probably going to be the starting quarterback. I couldn't tell you anything else. And I couldn't tell you who showed up from the recruiting class. This team is going to have, we talked about the upper edge of, not being able to game plan. They're going to have the upper hand for the opening week against Kentucky. Does that mean it's a win? I don't know, because I don't even know what kind of team shows up, but there will be a team that shows up.
That is so weird. not even knowing the roster to me, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. So the culture in Monroe is super secrecy, apparently. Hey, Joe, you had mentioned your rivalry with Liberty, and we've been asking everybody that comes on, including Commissioner Gill, including Chris Vanini of the Athletic, and a couple guys from like Texas State and Arkansas State. Who would you like to see come in the conference if realignment should punt a few our way? Would you like to see Liberty join the conference?
I'd love to see that. I really would. I mean, I would love to get, things which they kind of were rekindled in the bowl game. I mean, that was a heck of a football game. I hate that it didn't go our way, but I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing that at all. I mean, that would be a good regional, rivalry for us, get them back on the schedule,
Mm-hmm. How about anybody else? Anybody else that you look at and go, that'd be cool, like a Southern Miss or a Marshall or somebody in that vein?
I wouldn't mind a Charlotte or an Old Dominion. I mean, those two teams are close by, and they're Old Dominion was certainly a big time FCS program. We played them in the FCS playoffs one year, and when they had Taylor Heineke, who's still in the league, but that wouldn't be a bad trip for us. Charlotte's an up and coming team. They went to a bowl last year. They're doing some nice things, and maybe a Marshall, maybe a Southern Miss. I mean, at this conference realignment stuff, I hope the Sun Belt is prepared and positioned if, with the dominoes and the chips continue to fall, quite frankly. And I'm not in those discussions. I'm just a radio dude, the college football games on a Saturday, but I don't, I watch this. I hope that we would be, positioned to be strengthened if something like that were to come our way. If the opportunity presented itself to strengthen the league and create maybe some regional rivalries and increase the number of teams that this league would be prepared to do that.
The inverse of that, do you feel that Coastal is in a position that they could make that leap if the Conference USA or AAC or anyone else came calling?
Well, our athletic budget would have to increase exponentially for us to, to think about an AAC. I had that discussion with our AD at SunBelt, Media Day, and those discussions I would imagine are taking place. But I mean, our athletic budget would have to be on par with a Tulsa or a Cincinnati or somebody like that. If you're talking the AAC, that kind of thing, Conference USA, I'm not familiar with, what their budgets are, but we'd have to bump that budget up, considerably to be able to get into those leagues and be able to be competitive like we would want to be. So
tell us about the campus. What's a typical game day like there for the Chanticleers?
Growing in excitement every single season. I mean, we're not an old, football program. I mean, this will only be our 19th season, and we only became our own university, in 1993, when we left the University of South Carolina system. So we're still trying to get alumni, recent graduates, older graduates involved in coming back. And that's getting better every single season. I think it's a really good tailgating atmosphere. Been out there before games. And, I know a lot of the guys out there that love to tailgate before a game. It's getting better every single season. And I really, last year, we go 11-1 and we have a great year, but we can only put 5,000 in the stands. And I understand all that. I got all that. I knew why we, all the protocols and the safety, and you had to do all that to, to keep people safe. But if we could have had a full house last year for some of these games, like App State, we would have sold that place out. We would have had people all over campus. BYU would have been absolutely just wild with people, especially with game day, on site there. But it's getting better all the time. There's so much to do in Horry County and Myrtle Beach, so many things to see, a big time tourist attraction. Weather is always great. Plenty for the family to do. And again, getting better all the time. And I hope this year that we're, at a 100% capacity, that we'll get, we'll start to really reel in, these newer, younger graduates and maybe some of our older alumni to come back in and take ownership. Now, be a part of this, grow this, help this university grow with the football program and its athletics. And, I, again, can't wait to start and it's a lot of excitement going on in Conway. It's fun.
Do you feel that momentum is also helped by baseball, and that y'all still kind of have that mystique that y'all won the national title, right before joining the SunBelt? We like to lump it in because it was like the day before y'all joined. So we're like, we'll just bump it back. So it was a SunBelt national title.
Yeah.
Just in case you didn't know that, Joe. But do you feel that success also parlays into the football success and then just the success of the school as a whole?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we got so many website hits the day that we won that thing. I'll never forget, because I was out there. I remember that. And you mentioned that about joining the SunBelt on July 1st of 2016. We won it on June 30th. We were thinking, man, if we could just get one more rain out, because we got rained out on Wednesday night. We went down. The game 3 was supposed to be Wednesday night. And they pushed it back to Thursday morning, Thursday early afternoon. We're like, we get one more rain out, we'll be a SunBelt Conference team, but we might win a national championship in the SunBelt. Yeah. We were talking about out there. Of course, now the Big South, they were, it's like a tug of war going on, It's like, no, they're Big South. No, it's a SunBelt. But, I think that, the mileage we got out of that, the bounce we got, the recognition that we got out of winning a national championship, does nothing but help the university as a whole. Academically, athletically, and then certainly, last year with football coming along and doing what we did, that was, that baseball has kind of that set the precedent. You know what you got to achieve now. You know what you got to do.
How has that success trickled down to maybe the non-revenue sports? The volleyballs, the soccers, and things like that. Have y'all seen really a success in those sports as well?
Yeah, I mean, our volleyball team is something else. I mean, our best player goes down with a ACL tear in the SunBelt championship match last year, or I think we win that, quite frankly. I mean, not taking away anything from anybody else, but I mean, we Joseph has got a great volleyball program going. Our men's soccer just joined a new league, and so that's gonna really ratchet things up for them. But they've had a great program for a lot of years, and like you say that the non-revenue sports, it does nothing but help. It does nothing but help. The exposure that the school gets. People see that logo, they know, hey, that's Coastal. I want to go there. I want to be part of something, whatever it is. So
2 teams for the SunBelt ranked in the top 25 this year. Give me your bold prediction for 2021. What will happen this year for the SunBelt?
Are we going to, can we get some team into a really, major kind of a bowl kind of thing? Like when App State, I thought had a chance to be in a different bowl a couple of years ago. And I thought that we might've had a chance to be in a different bowl last season. I mean, it didn't really work out that way, but I just hope that we have a great season again, and that we will be rewarded. The teams that earn those bowl berths will be rewarded with a trip somewhere. The destinations aren't bad, for our bowl games. I mean, they're not bad. I hope this year though, we would get a chance for a bowl experience. That I'll say that. I mean, last year, we went to Orlando for the Cure Bowl, Campbell World Stadium. We didn't really get a bowl experience. We flew in the day before the game. typically you'll go down and have that bowl experience the week of, and our kids can go and do a lot of things and have dinners and have friendly competitions. I hope that we can get a chance to do that this season, no matter where we go.
It was a magical season for Coastal Carolina. You had the record, you had the big wins, but you also had the cancellation. You had the stadium that could only seat so many. You had the bowl experience that you kind of got robbed out of. Is this sort of, we were talking to South Alabama, or to some people from South Alabama, and they were opening up a new stadium last year, and COVID kind of killed that mood. And so they're looking at this year as really the year for them to open that stadium. Is this sort of going to be like not necessarily a redemption year, but a validation year for the Chanticleers? Chanticleers, sorry. So close.
Yeah, I think validation is a good word. I think validation is a good word. I mean, I know the word on the street out there is, hey, was this team a one-hit wonder? Did they catch lightning in a bottle? Did something just wild happen? Or will they go back to their ways of 5-7? Will they go 7-5? Will they just kind of putter around and not do a whole lot? Yeah, I mean, this is a validation season. I mean, again, with all the seniors we have, the 12 super seniors and then the 13 regular seniors, and then our difference making quarterback and talent all across the board on defense. I mean, we definitely have something to prove to say that, hey, this is not just something that happened, a one-off kind of thing. This is something for sustained excellence over the next several years. This is hopefully will be something like what Appalachian State was able to do, kind of like what Louisiana is in the midst of doing right now. They're winning and they're continuing to win. That's what we have to do. We have to continue to win. We have to continue to play with hunger. We have to continue to play, with discipline, play a high level of football, and keep the winning going. That's what we have to do to sustain this and make it, to where, hey, they went 11-1, but then they turn around and went 6-6. I can't afford to do that.
Joe, we thank you so very much for joining us. And we know that next week is finally the week. We're back in a season next week. Not even a week from today, we will be talking week 1 football.
And week 0 football for that matter. So yeah.
I can't wait. I'm excited. I can't even believe we're already here. It feels like just a day or two ago, I was driving home from Orlando, looking ahead to 2021, thinking, man, we're going to be good again. I can't wait. And here we are. Citadel comes to town next Thursday. Then we have Kansas, and then off to Buffalo, then UMass, and the next thing you know, ULM starts our SunBelt schedule. So it ought to be a lot of fun.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Joe, for being on the show, and we appreciate your time, and we hope to have you back later on in the year.
Guys, I do appreciate it. Thank you for having me on, letting me talk some Coastal football and ramble on about whatever topic that we talked about. And it was a lot of fun. And anytime you guys want to chat, just hit me up and then we'll do it.
Glad Force Flex Max Strength now has bags with a 2-time stronger top for over-the-top strength. Like the kind of over-the-top strength you need when Bill breaks your bowl of buffalo chicken dip. Glad Force Flex Max Strength. Strong enough for all of life's garbage. 2-time stronger top versus 13-gallon Force Flex bags.